This video can discuss the Dutch Parliament, one house of the Parliament's current vote to try and ban kosher slaughter halal meat. But before we get into that, I just want to give you a little background. From a Jewish perspective, and I have a video on vegetarianism and on kosher, Adam and Eve were vegetarians. According to the myth of the story of Noah and the flood, God gave Noah at that time the right to eat meat, but not blood. Then later on in Jewish history, there was a further refinement that non-Jews could not take a limb off a live animal called Aver min achai, but the Jews had many further restrictions, including you can't hunt, trap any animal. The only animals that were available for slaughter had to have cleft hooves and chew their cud. They had to be domesticated and killed in a particular way. Deuteronomy simply says, you should slaughter the animal in the way I've told you, and that's described in the oral law, mostly in the tractate Chulin in the Talmud. Now, what's happened is that there's been several countries that have banned kosher slaughter, including Sweden, Norway, Luxembourg, and Switzerland. They claim that it's not humane, and that's one of the issues that the Dutch are dealing with. Now, those Jews in those countries are allowed to import kosher meat. They just can't slaughter it in those countries. There's a further issue in in the Netherlands, where Geert Wilders, who is a political person, is very concerned about Muslim immigration, as are people in many European countries. And in 2009, he called Islam the ideology of a retarded culture. He wants to make the Netherlands inhospitable to more Muslim immigrants, so banning halal meat feels like would do that. It's interesting, there's a kosher butcher just a few streets over from Anne Frank's house in the Netherlands. So basically it's pitted the freedom of religion issue to animal welfare. Now there are several ways it has to go before the Netherlands will finally force Jews to have to import kosher meat instead of being able to slaughter it right there. The Dutch Senate has to agree to it, which is no guarantee. If it does, the Jews can challenge it in court. The law could also be amended to make an exception for kosher slaughter if it can be proven that no additional harm is caused to animals by killing them a kosher way. Now, if you want to read about ways to make kosher slaughter even more humane, you can go to my blog, www.rabbireflects.blogspot.com, and there's a professor of animal stuff who investigated kosher slaughter, and she said that there's virtually no pain if the animal is properly restrained. And one of the big differences between kosher slaughter and halal slaughter is that the Arabs use a much shorter knife, which causes much more distress to the animal. Now, part of the issue is not only the issue of animal rights and whether or not that Jews should be denied their historic right to slaughter the way we've done for thousands of years, but there are many Jews who are feeling like it's another slap in the sense of not being welcome. One said they care more about animals than they do about the feelings of people. In addition, there's a concern that this will be another step on the road to banning circumcision. We have this ridiculous effort now in San Francisco to force Jews to violate our religious rights and circumcise our baby boys on the 8th day, as we've done all the way since Isaac was born 4,000 years ago. But that is one of the concerns. Now, there's a Cornell University food science professor named Joe Regenstein who wrote a report rebuking the opposition's claim that kosher slaughter causes undue suffering to the animals. Simply untrue. And the Anti-Defamation League, American Jewish Committee, Simon Wiesenthal Center, B'nai B'rith, all sent a letter to Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte saying the bill would cause unacceptable harm to the religious freedom of the Dutch Jewish community. So those are some of the issues. There are 500 million animals slaughtered in the Netherlands each year. Of that number, about 3,000 are slaughtered according to the laws of kashrut, and 1 million slaughtered according to the laws of halal. Both forms would be banned under this procedure. We're talking about just a small amount of animals. Now, if you really worry about animal rights, then become a vegetarian. Certainly one way to do it. But according to Professor Regenstein, kosher slaughter is not inhumane. There are ways that we can even make it better. But to deny Jews the right to slaughter animals the way we have done for thousands of years, even as we can improve perhaps the way we do it within religious guidelines, is unconscionable. You should know that there are efforts in both conservative and Orthodox Judaism, because they're the ones who care more about kashrut, to make sure the animals are treated correctly, the workers working on the animals are treated properly. Very interesting developments. But that is a little bit of background on the issue of the Netherlands' proposed ban, which has now passed one of the houses of the Dutch Parliament as of July 17, 2011. And we have to watch this very carefully about whether Jews are going to continue to be welcomed in Europe. And if it passes there, it's passed in several other countries. Maybe it'll catch on in more of European countries, and religious Jews who want to keep kosher and abide by our laws will find it increasingly unfriendly and inhospitable.